Hi. So today's question has three answers, and the third answer is a secret that shows you that the question itself, has a little bit of a challenge that we're going to want to take a closer look at. So let's get right on into it. The question that was sent to me is, which is cheaper, traditional or self-published books? Now, this is an excellent question that many people have. They're trying to figure out which way should they go. If you have a limited budget, should you try to get traditionally published, or should you go with the self-publishing route? And that is something that many people, writers, are looking to figure out what the correct answer is. And with a limited budget, it does make it a little bit tricky to figure that out. So before I get started, this is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you would like for me to make more videos like this one, and check out below in the description. You will find my free self-publishing secrets checklist that has 9 things that will help your book to create your book and also to get your book selling. So go ahead and check that out in the description. So let's get started. When I first started publishing, I discovered that traditional publishing was not going to work for me, and the biggest reason was it is extremely difficult to get your book accepted, and then you have to wait, and there's a whole series of things involved in making sure that it ends up being the right quality. You have to find publishers that would be interested. Many of them are already looking for followings. There was a whole series of things, and so for me, I went the self-publishing route, and I also went the cheapest route I could find since I did not have a large budget when I was first getting started. After the budget started to come in, then I could upgrade things, and the costs started to increase with each book that I was producing in some ways and decrease in other ways with areas that I found that it maybe perhaps wasn't as important to use money on. So let's get into the answers. So the first is, traditional publishing costs you nothing. So in this sense, it's cheaper, but there's a catch here. And the answer is, in order to get traditionally published, you're going to need somebody to accept your book, which would suggest that you've already invested a lot in your book. You've invested the time. Perhaps you've already had it edited before you even submit the book to the major publisher to get it checked to make sure that the book is high enough quality that they would want to do it. Maybe you've done some research and used research tools in order to do this. Many people, though, haven't really invested that much in their book if they're going the traditional publishing route. The problem, though, is are they even going to accept it? So we could say something is free. For example, winning the lottery might be free. I mean, it costs you $1 or whatever it might be. But what's your probability of succeeding in that route? And so the second answer brings in that self-published books do cost you more, but you get higher royalty rates. Keep in mind, with Kindle, the royalty rates are 70% if it's priced between $3 and $10. So this is something you're going to want to consider as opposed to traditionally published books, which are only going to make you about 11%. So that is not something you're going to want to forget about. So if you're going to decide between the two, the money you can expect back is going to be a lot higher on self-published. In addition, you're going to have complete control over your cover, your title, all sorts of stuff that many traditional publishers just ignore sometimes when it comes. It's amazing that they will ignore these things and will choose titles and covers that will simply sell less books. You also have control over the marketing, which sites it's going to be on. If you wish to edit and change the contents of the book, you can do that. And the rights you remain yours the entire way on the self-publishing route. So do they cost more? Yes, you have to get the cover, you have to do the editing yourself, you have to do all of these. Of course, again, on the traditional side, you should be getting it edited anyways before you submit the book in, but then they will run it through all of the advanced editing that would cost you quite a bit more money if you do it yourself. But let's move on to the secret point number 3, and that is that cost isn't a good measure. Instead of looking at the cost of something to figure out whether or not it's a good idea, we should rather look at the ROI, or return on investment. This is a much better way to go. So that is to say, if I put $1 into something and I get $2 out, well, I would say the cost was, this was fantastic. It was very cheap. But if I put $1 into something and I get absolutely nothing out, well, then I would say it was rather expensive. So the cost of something can really, whether something is pricey or cheap, which is really the underlying question, not just the idea of how much is it going to cost me, is going to be determined by the return on investment. So we want to know whether something's a good deal or a bad deal. And so when we're looking at the overall picture, there's one other factor that we hit a little bit earlier. It is that when we publish something out there, or when we're trying to get something published, let's say traditionally, any time I'm investing also is a cost. And then we would ask, what is the probability that a major publisher is going to pick up your book? And if the probability is very low, which it is, it's very low from one of the large publishing houses, then the cost is incredibly high because you're going to use all of this time and effort, because your time is not free. I hope you don't think of your time as free. You're going to use all of this time and effort only to get your book rejected by one of these houses. And so in a sense, this was extremely expensive. So what about you? Have you found that one is cheaper than the other? Go ahead and let me know below in the comments, and check out a video above for more answers to your self-publishing questions. Thanks.